Bob Shea has created many hilarious books for young people, including Crash, Splash, or Moo, the popular Dinosaur V's series, Unicorn Thinks He's Pretty Great, Unicorn is Maybe Not So Great After All, and the early readers featuring Ballet Cat. He has also written stories such as Who Wet My Pants, illustrated by Zachariah O'Hara. He lives in Madison, Connecticut, and invites you to visit him at bobshea.com. Lane Smith is the author and illustrator of several award-winning and best-selling books for children. 5 of his titles have won the New York Times Best Illustrated Book Award. Congratulations, Lane. He is the illustrator of Penguin Problems, Giraffe Problems, and Cat Problems, all by Jory John. Lane Smith lives in Connecticut with his wife, Molly Leach, an award-winning graphic designer. Find out more at lanesmithbooks.com. We are so excited to have Bob and Lane joining us in conversation tonight. So without further ado, I'm going to let them get started, and we'll be back later for the Q&A portion. Take it away.
Thank you. Hey, Bob.
How are you?
I'm well.
Nice to see you.
We should start by saying, Bob, what a guy. Today is Bob's birthday.
It is my birthday. It is my birthday. I should have cake all over my face by now.
What a nice guy to
I wiped it off.
Balloons and pointy hats and to just hear me blathering on, and this is great. I appreciate it.
That was anytime. It's nice to talk to you. It's a birthday treat.
Well, you're
nice to see your studio.
Yeah, a little bit of my studio.
And your big painting.
And some Bob Shea books back there on the shelf.
Yep, I got my Lane Smith section right here.
Okay, I guess we're done.
my much more minimal studio. That's in an attic. But we're here to talk about one book in particular, aren't we?
I believe so.
I believe it's a book you wrote.
Oh, I thought it was I Want My Hat Back. We're going to talk about my book.
We can talk about that. I thought we would take some time also and tell behind the scenes stories of authors we don't like, even if those stories are fabricated.
No one's listening, right?
Yeah.
This is great.
I think we're recording it though. You know who I don't care for. Anyway, so tell us about so here's the book. It's a gift for Nana.
Hey,
I just saw this on TV and then I ran out and got it right away.
Oh yeah? Was it the My Pillow guy was selling them, right?
Right. He had a lot of crazy theories about it, but I still thought the book was good.
Now you said Nana probably because that's what I say. I think 99% of the world says Nana, but my mom, who this was sort of a loose tribute to, went by Nana. So
yeah, I probably would have said it that way anyway, but you're right. I probably heard you say it.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. Yeah,
what did Joy Behar say when she said it? Did she say it right?
No. I mean, she said it right for her. She said Nana.
Oh, she said Nana. Okay.
We're saying it wrong by saying Nana, but
okay.
Joy Behar had it on The View.
It was on The View. Did somebody give it to her as a gift for Mother's Day? Was that what it was? Because it's a perfect perfect belated Mother's Day gift.
Yeah, well, supply chain shortages. My poor old rabbit missed Easter and missed Mother's by just 2 days. But as we say in the first line in the book, he says it wasn't a major holiday. He says it was not his Nana's birthday. It was not even a major hair holiday, but Rabbit wanted to give his Nana a gift anyway. So I think it's better. It's kind of like Alice in Wonderland with the unbirthday. It's not a Mother's Day or Easter book. It's a every other day of the year book.
It's just celebrating that person.
Yeah.
For no reason.
Yeah, Bob and I are really good friends, and we show each other our work all the time. And you'll know that in the past I've done books that are funny, like It's a Book or John, Paul, George, and Ben, and then books that are more earnest and straightforward and sentimental, like Grandpa Green. But lately I've been trying to merge the two, I think, and I did that a little bit with A Perfect Day, and this one where they're sincere and then they're sort of earnest and they're heartfelt, but at the same time, I still can slide in a couple of little subversive jokes, and and I think that comes from becoming reacquainted with William Steig's books in the last couple of years, and just trying to figure out the alchemy that makes that work. And so I'm really pleased with the way this one came out, and I think merging those two, I hope people think it was successful.
Oh, when I read it, that was the thing. I was like, it's surprisingly funny. Not that you're not funny, but it's seemingly so earnest, and it's gorgeous. Like, in your illustrations are some of the nicest work of your career, I think. And I've told you that before. It's not just because we're doing the show, but when I read it, I was like, these are like, all the jokes are like really solid and sly.
Well,
he offhandedly insults the moon.
Yeah, no, that's kind of amazing coming from you, but that's exactly it. No one can compete with Bob Shea, because you're the funniest guy on the planet, and you write the funniest books, and I can never compete with that. But I always had this more I guess deadpan humor that is now, I think, working really well with these paintings. And I think during the pandemic, I was working on these big oil paintings, and I think that really loosened me up. And then when I started to do this book, the illustrations are more painterly than they've been in a while. So it all sort of came together. And also, I think I may have told you this story about my mom, because my mom was Nana, and this story is about a rabbit who goes on a quest to get his Nana the perfect gift, and he goes over hills and across lakes and everything, and he finally finds this perfect gift. And I was about halfway through with it, and subconsciously, I guess it occurred to me that happened to me, because when I was about 8 years old, my mom and I were in a store, and she always had dolls and toys, and our house was kind of this wonderland of antiques. But we were in a store, and she saw this big apothecary looking jar filled with striped candies and peppermints.
Yeah, sure.
And she was admiring that, and I know why she was, because it looked like something from the 1920s or something you've seen in an old candy shop. And come Christmas time, I remembered that, and I was only 8 years old, but I got on my little it wasn't even a Schwinn, it was a Huffy bike, and I remembered, I must have pedaled 2 miles, and I went over hills and the other part of town. And this was in the days when you could safely do stuff like that. But
that's far.
Yeah, and I got this, and I purchased. They still had it, and I came home and I gave it to her that Christmas, and she just was sort of floored that I remembered it. And I had forgotten that story, but that's exactly the plot of this book. That not needed that a big jar of candy. I wanted to get her something just because she was.
That's really sweet. That's really nice. You must have liked that. So
so
you just got her like a handful of candy, or you got her the big jar of candy? How'd you get that back?
Big jar.
And you got that back on your Huffy?
I had to balance it on the handlebars, and I finally got it home. And and then my wife Molly Molly Leach, who designed this book and designs all of my books and is, amazing. We were at my mom's house maybe 10 years ago, and she had all her Christmas. It was Christmas. She had all the decorations out, and Molly went over, saw this big jar of candy, and she went over there and pulled her out a big peppermint stick and almost had it to her mouth when Nana said, "I don't think you want to do that." And it was that same jar. She had kept it for 30 years untouched because she just loved the way it looked, and it was probably crawling with ants. I don't know.
I bet it was just as good.
Oh, I'm sure.
I'm sure it would have been fine.
But anyway, yeah. So that's sort of the story behind the story.
I wanted to ask you this too, because I met your mom and she was lovely, and when I met her, she was a hoot and very lively and was a lot of fun to be with. Like when you were thinking about writing this book, did you want to make it funny because you were writing it for your mom? Like you didn't want to make it, you didn't want to make it overly earnest or
Maudlin.
Yeah, maudlin.
Yeah, our house was always filled with humor and laughter and jokes, and also I think just the fact that the character was named Nana, it kind of she passed away a couple years ago, and it kept her alive for me. It was strange. I don't know if this happens with you when you do your work, but I was so happy doing this book because it was almost like, not like she was there looking over my shoulder or anything, but it just filled me with just a good feeling the whole time I did it. And and she would have loved it. This is her sense of humor.
Yeah.
And she could have taken it to the beauty shop and all around town, shown everybody that, my son did this here book. But yeah, you met her. I think we were at the Texas Book Festival.
We were in Texas Book Festival. Yeah. For Kid Sheriff and the Terrible Toads.
Yep. That was a book Bob and I did together.
Yeah.
And Big Plans we did together.
Yep.
Yeah. And
but that was nice meeting your mom. That was a nice time. She
loved you. I think she sensed that even though I'm older than you, you're more of a patriarchal, I'm stupid, and I can't I have a bad sense of direction. I can never figure anything out. And she knew that you were looking out for me. So like you are today. It's great. I'm sad that my mom wasn't able to see Shea Bob. She would have loved that book.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, thank you. I also in what else I liked about A Gift for Nana was the volcano part where he asks about her temper. He's like, "Oh, I don't see that very often." So you were like acknowledging that, yeah, of course there's a temper, but
it's not a you don't want to make her out to be a saint.
Right, exactly. This wasn't a oh, my wonderful Nana, and I'm gonna go and she deserves this because she's so wonderful. She's a person and she's funny.
Yeah, so you could see the little rabbit, and he meets this volcano, and the volcano suggests maybe for the perfect gift she would like a temper, and the rabbit says, "I'm not sure what a temper is," and so the volcano explodes and shows him, and the rabbit says, "Oh yeah, she already has one of those, but I don't see it much."
They're gorgeous. And then and then the cave joke, the next one. Do you want to read it or no?
Well, we could, it's funny. This page.
That's funny.
I sent it to Kevin Henkes, who we both, and he said, "Oh, I love the way you put the hidden, the spooky face." And it never occurred to me.
Oh yeah.
Look at that.
It's spooky face.
I didn't know it was a spooky face, but another again, it's like those subconscious things that we do.
That's gorgeous. It's so great.
Oh, thanks. I could read it, or we could go on chatting.
It's up to you.
Yeah.
No, I
Okay.
meant, 'cause you had mentioned you wanted to read it. I wanted to give you the opportunity before it went.
Well, I don't want to take time away, but it is a wonderful story.
It is a wonderful story.
I'll read it, and if you get sleepy, Bob, you could hold up the
I
pictures.
can hold up the illustrations so everybody can see
Okay.
the illustrations while you read it.
That's great. Okay, that'll make it pass quickly.
And there's Molly's gorgeous typography.
Isn't that great?
And
She-
the colors are just amazing.
Molly's been designing,
So sophisticated.
designed every book I've done, going all the way back to Stinky Cheese Man and Big Plans with You. And
Yep.
okay,
It's always gorgeous and classic. It's never, oh, that must have been done in 2022 because whatever. It's like just classic design.
true. They're kind of timeless to her
Yep.
design. Okay. It was not his Nana's birthday. It was not even a major hair holiday. But Rabbit wanted to give his Nana a gift anyway. A crow told him of a perfect gift and said it was not far. This sounded to Rabbit like a worthy quest. With Crow's directions in his head, Rabbit began his journey through a green and grand forest. Look at that. He had not gone far when he met a full moon. Hello, said Rabbit. Shouldn't you be in the sky? Not for a few more hours, said the moon. You can always find me down here while the sun is up there. Rabbit told the moon of his quest for Nana's perfect gift. Does your Nana need a smile? Said the moon. I can give her one of my phases. The moon showed him, becoming a crescent smile. No, my Nana already has a smile as bright as the sun. At this, the moon grew quiet, and Rabbit wondered if comparing his Nana's smile to the sun was not something to say to a moon.
That was a pretty generous gift.
Farther into the woods, where it was hard to tell the shadows from the trees, the forest creatures became less ordinary. One was a stickler. Rabbit told it of his quest for Nana's perfect gift. Does your Nana need a stick? Asked the stickler. She already has a very nice walking stick, said Rabbit. But between you and me, I don't think she really needs it. Next, Rabbit crossed a big lake. A big fish asked him where he was going. Rabbit told of his quest for Nana's perfect gift. Would your Nana like some water? Said the big fish. I have saved some in a cup. It's around here somewhere. I'm sure I can find it. No, thank you. My Nana already has a glass of water next to the chair where she reads to me, said Rabbit.
That was a good one.
Thank you.
I like that one a lot.
Rabbit landed on a rocky shore. Ahoy, mountain, he said. I'm not a mountain. I'm a volcano, boomed a volcano. Apologies, said Rabbit. And once again, he told of his quest for Nana's perfect gift. Does your Nana have a temper? I'm not sure what that is, said Rabbit. The volcano exploded into 10 million fireworks. Oh, yes, she already has one of those, but I don't see it much. Now Rabbit stood before a peak dotted with dusty caves. The peak was steep. The caves were spooky. Nana would probably say a comforting something or other about now, Rabbit thought as his nose began to twitch. Achoo! Rabbit sneezed into a dusty cave. Achoo! The cave echoed back. Bless you, said Rabbit. Bless you, echoed the cave. Bless you. That is exactly what my Nana would say before I climbed a steep peak dotted with spooky caves, thought Rabbit. It was the final leg of Rabbit's journey. As he climbed, he wondered if Crow should have said the perfect gift was not far as the crow flies, because as the rabbit walks, it was very far. At long last, Rabbit was at the end of his quest, and Crow was right. It was the perfect gift. And look at it, it's a big old carrot. Rabbit carried it back the way he came, past the volcano, past the big fish, past the stickler, past the moon, and all of them agreed it was the perfect gift. The distance this time seemed much shorter to Rabbit, who was eager to return to his Nana. He stopped only once for a bite to eat. And look, he's eating the carrot.
Yes.
What's the matter with him?
I don't know. I guess you can't override his nature.
And before long, he was at Nana's house. Nana lived in an old tree with a fence made of carrots, beside a carrot field lined with tidy rows of carrots. Nana, I have brought you a gift, said Rabbit. Although, now that I think about it, perhaps you already have enough carrots. Kevin Henkes also said that looked like a face. It does.
He's right. I wouldn't have seen it, but he's right. He's very visual.
He is very visual and very perceptive.
Yeah. It's a nice
Although
guy.
now that I think about it, perhaps you already have enough carrots. But I do not have this carrot, said Nana, smiling the sunny smile Rabbit had mentioned to the moon. This is a perfect gift. Do you know why? Rabbit was pretty sure Nana was going to say, because it came from him. She did, because Nana always said the best things. Nana, said Rabbit, have you ever met a stickler? The very last page, they're sitting together. No, said Nana. Tell me. And that, my
Great.
friend, is the end. And here is my author photo.
That's
That-
pretty solid.
Nice, right? Look
Yeah,
at
it's really nice.
look at the wide flaps that Molly
Oh,
requested.
yeah, they are. They're like super wide.
The publisher was so sweet and gracious, everything. We said we want this kind of linen textured finish on the cover, and Maria, who
Yeah,
Maria,
yeah.
and the art department there said, I think we could do that. And then Molly said, can I get these big 5-inch flaps? And they said, yeah, I think we could do that too. And which, worries me sometimes when people get just the Kindle version, or when they send, or they're just looking at it on a PDF, they're missing all this pebbled paper and beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, you and I, when we do books, these things matter, the tactile and
Yeah. That's why it's good to have Molly thinking about that stuff too, so that you don't have to, because it's a lot of elements to think about all at once as one stream of information. If you have, especially when you're doing this, you're writing the story and doing the illustrations, those things you think about, but to have somebody focused on them is great.
Well, you and I are both lucky because we're both married to designers, and
Yeah.
I've known couples where they're both illustrators, and I know it can get tense or competitive.
Right.
But what our wives do with us is, we work in tandem, and so they complement what we do and make our stuff better, which is great.
Yeah.
So
in my case, my wife is pretty right about her instincts, and I'm only mad for 2 days when she makes a suggestion, and then I do what she says.
that's nice. Only 2 days.
Just 2 days where I pout. But that's because of me. That's not
That's you. That's you.
not her fault. She's right to tell me.
Well, Bob, what are you working on? What's your next book? What do you have coming up?
I have I have a book called I Am a Baby that I just did, that was about when my son was little. See,
I remember you talking about this one a long time ago.
yeah, it was seals. It was like a bunch of seals at first, and
That's
then it was
right.
humans.
That's a great cover.
That's me.
It is you. That
Yeah.
looks like there.
It was
Wait.
gonna be Colleen, but then we didn't make it Colleen.
Oh, when does that come out?
That comes out in June. And then I have a book called Adorable, which is a series of little puppies in trucks, and that comes
Yeah.
out in June as well, I think.
Well, You can't beat Puppies and Trucks.
No, I thought of it and I was like, I don't know why I haven't. This wasn't the first book I ever did. It seems so. I'm like, aren't there a million Puppies and Trucks books? They're like, nope,
No.
you're the first one. I'm like, oh my gosh, it
Yeah.
seems so obvious.
You're like when Paul McCartney had a dream about yesterday, and he woke up and he thought, surely this is already a song. And then he called people and he hummed it to them over the phone. And they said, I've never heard that before. So
Wow.
you were calling all Lori Keller and Jory Johnson.
All our friends, yeah.
Ever heard
up all our
of a book
friends.
with Puppies and Trucks? Yeah.
That's got to be a thing, right? Nope.
That's great.
There's puppies on bicycles. There's puppies. How about cats and boats? No.
No. Mm-mm.
What are you doing next?
Well, I'm working that Stickler character.
Oh, that's so great.
Yep. I'm doing a follow-up book, sort of his own tale, and featuring the Stickler character.
And it's gorgeous.
Well, thank you, Bob.
How close is that book to the last version I've seen? Did it change? Changed a lot?
It changed a little bit. You and I are both blessed that we have great friends we could bounce stuff off of. And you had some great suggestions, and Lori Keller had some great suggestions, and Molly always chimes in, and and then Maria, my editor, had some great thoughts. So the spirit, everything, it didn't not change from, it just got sharper, I think. And you know how it is, you get so there's tunnel vision, and you get so into your book with blinders on that you just miss stuff, and I'll show it to you, say, well, why, why is he, how do you get down here? Oh, yeah.
Well, that's what I was saying before. When you have all these things to take care of, when you show me a book, I didn't have to like dig through all the different elements to get to the story to the point where it was. I'm seeing it for the first time. So all those things jump out at me when you are juggling all the different parts.
Yeah.
So it's easy to overlook something.
It's great to have a circle of competitive, supportive people. I found in this business, and also before this, when I used to do magazine illustration, that I would say 99% of the people I knew, we were all helping each other out. It wasn't competitive. It was more, we wanted everyone to do well and elevate the whole group. There's a couple of jerks. Yeah.
But you quickly stop sending them your stuff or asking their opinion.
Exactly.
Who
are those jerks?
I'll run down. Hold on, I have my list.
Okay. Oh, let me
push. I could do it by year. Should we do alphabetically or by year? People who've wronged me.
Oh my Lord.
Perceived slights. No, I tell people that a lot. I tell like because kids ask me a lot when I do school visits if I have any help with the books and things, and I say, oh, I have a lot of people that I send them to, and I say that you find, like, when they share stories with their teachers or with grown-ups at home, I said these people want to help you make the story better. Like, they know that you can make a better story, or they can tell what you're trying to do, and their suggestions help you get there. Because kids don't want to make revisions, and they don't want to, they perceive every sort of note as criticism. So I try to talk them through that. There's my cuckoo clock.
Oh, I hear it. I actually love rewriting. I like to write, and rewrite. But probably unlike you, and I was having this conversation with Lori Keller, actually, because I was saying there's, I think, different kinds of writers. And we were talking about David Sedaris. When you go see him in concert, he'll read your story and something will get a big laugh, and he'll
make
notes.
Stop. Right. Got big laugh.
Yeah.
Joke tanked. Right.
And then you're probably like that because you you leave the house, unlike me.
I leave the house sometimes. I don't,
Oh,
that's not my favorite.
it's not your, oh,
Yeah,
see,
but I am around some other people sometimes.
oh, I'm not around humans that often, but I like going out with you because you do all the talking.
I'll just walk around and eat
Yeah,
things. We
yeah.
just go for a hike and eat.
Uh,
I like that.
Uh-huh. Well, who are some of your favorite authors of the past or currently or
Well, you mentioned Laura Keller a couple times. I send her stuff as well, and she definitely has a different take on my stuff than I do and you do as well, because my jokes are usually dialogue. Like they're usually like someone will say a joke, and you're the one who's told me, hold on, I'm gonna grab it. This was great. And I'll tell you right now, I take credit for it all the time. I don't tell anybody that you did this, but this was a great bit. Hold on, sorry about that. I'm off camera. So this was my most recent book, Shea Bob, and I had the alligator opens a restaurant on his nose, and I had the alligator salting the bird, and Lane's the one who said, have the bird. No, I had the bird salting his food, and you were like, have Shea Bob salting the bird, and it made the whole thing. It was the whole joke. I was like, oh, that's the whole joke right there. So a lot of times visual humor, doesn't come to me because I'm like thinking of like snappy things they say back and forth to each other. So like you're great about that. And Lori Keller too. She's definitely has more of that kind of thing. We're doing a book together.
Yeah, what's the name of that one?
That's called Fun, Love, and Curmudgeon.
And have you all started that one yet?
She's told me a couple times, she's apologetically, and I say that to you because you know how Lori is, and she's like, oh my gosh, I'm trying to finish some things up and then I'll get to this. I'm like, it's fine, yep. Lori, take your time. It's all right. Whatever. Yeah. Someday we'll do a book together.
These days we all, we meet our deadline and we hurry up and we get the thing out, but then it's stuck on a boat somewhere.
Yeah.
And can't make it over. So,
Yep. Everything.
Speaking of Shea Bob, that it sort of goes back to what I was talking about with Nana trying to meld those jokes with a little bit of heart. You did that with Shea Bob. That's a real touching story.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, that's something I'm trying to integrate more into things and not just be like, yeah, I wrote a bunch of funny pages and then I found a way to wrap it up. I drew.
Well,
so yeah, thank you. That was, I wanted to make sure it wasn't just a bunch of jokes with an ending, and it was very well received. So that was nice.
Yeah, it's although a bunch of jokes was good too, and that's a
bunch of jokes does work okay.
You go into a school and you could write the most touching, well-crafted sentence, but if you mention boogers, you're going to get a laugh.
It's comedy gold.
But is that
I don't know if you know I'm the author of Who Wet My Pants, which is also low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
Is a real crowd pleaser.
That was a great book too, and Zach did a great job on that as well.
Zach did a great job. That was another thing, and that's the other thing too. Sometimes I talk about you in the school presentations, how we've done books together. I said sometimes you work with your friends, and if some kids don't like to maybe write stories so much, or maybe some kids aren't as confident doing drawings, that you can always work with your friends, and it's fun and it's a nice experience.
Yeah, we're pretty lucky to do what we do and get to work at home. You can stay in your pajamas, you can play your own music all day long, you can
listen to podcasts,
and you could read other people's kids' books, and it's research, and then you get to work with your friends, and then when it's all done, you can go read it to a bunch of kids, and you get to eat the wonderful school cafeteria food.
That's nice. You described a nice day, our careers. I think I like how you just glossed over the stuck in the whirlwind and turmoil of your own self-doubt. Right, sitting in a chair and staring into the middle distance as a deadline just passes by.
Yeah, there are those
You don't
moments.
have that. You don't have that issue, but I do.
Have you ever written a book, speaking of cafeteria food? I remember, when we did Stinky Cheese Man, and you
Right.
go to these events, and every store or library would give us stinky cheese
And
to
you're
eat.
like,
Yeah.
right.
Or, I don't know. Have you got any fried alligator? Or
I haven't. I can't remember. I think that I know when I go there, there's always things Unicorn Book had cupcakes, so I got cupcakes all the time. So
Yeah.
without thinking about it, I handled it a little better than your book. I didn't end up with stinky cheese every day. It's always cupcakes. So
I need to write a book about dark chocolate.
right, the dark chocolate mystery.
Yeah. Mhm.
We're brainstorming now.
We are.
I just sent in the sequel to Shea Bob, which I'm about to start working on, is about an alligator that opens a pizza restaurant. So hopefully that works in my favor.
Is that one? Is it going to be called Shay Ryan or?
There's the title is still under debate. I don't think it'll end up being Shea Ryan. That's my son is Ryan,
Yeah.
but it's everything else. I fought for some other things, and everything else is intact.
You know what's funny when you just said that? Did you know that Shay Bob is like Bob Shea, but backwards?
Backwards, yeah.
Yeah. You realize that when you did it?
I didn't. I was at a school visit, and a little kid pointed it out to me, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, really?" But this looks like it says Ches, and they were like, "Nope, it's pronounced Shay."
Well, you did the pronunciation on the back cover, didn't you?
I did do the pronunciation on the back cover. You're right.
All right. Well, what should we do next?
Do you want to talk about any illustrations?
Well, it's
so classic Lane Smith, the whole thing.
Thank you, but it's funny because I
read this. I look at these illustrations and I read this and I'm like, why is he friends with me?
Oh no.
I look like I draw with my foot. And everything's like, oh, look, subtlety. Wait a minute. He's not just using primary colors, or maybe on a good day, the secondary range.
I did think,
look at how gorgeous that is.
A lot of good textures.
A lot of good textures.
This book did kind of start with artwork, and I think the stickler page was one of the first ones I did, and it's because the last few books I was exploring textures and things like A House That Once Was that Julie Foliano wrote, and that was such a gift to do that book and to do these sort of blobby ink line, almost like Ben Shahn drawings with spongy colors. And every book I do, I try to experiment a little, but the last few were more almost serious in the technique. And I think when I started this book, I was thinking what I enjoy the most are books like Stinky Cheese Man or James and the Giant Peach, where I'm drawing bugs or creatures or things like that. And I was thinking it would be great to do just animals and not humans for a change. And I was working on these big paintings, and
right behind you. Look over your shoulder.
Oh my goodness, how did that?
So doing the big paintings, did that inform
Definitely
illustrations? Yeah.
Definitely, because there was the last and there was about a 10-year stretch in there where my stuff was a little more graphic and everything. And these days I'm thinking, no, let's just do what you enjoy, do what you do best, which is painterly stuff with brush strokes.
That's exactly what it looks like. It looks like it's very organic and very natural to you, I think. And I feel
Yeah.
that way when I see your big paintings. I'm like, I can tell how much you, I say this about Lori when I read her books. Like, I'm like, I can tell she enjoyed this and that it's an expression of her. I feel that way with these illustrations. Absolutely.
Thanks. There are our pals, like Sergio Rousier and
Yeah.
people. You're sure that they're smiling the whole time they're doing the book.
Yeah.
Maybe when Maurice Sendak was doing his books, he was probably a little more curmudgeonly. He's probably,
Right.
maybe not smiling so much. I told you he used to call once in a while.
Oh,
And
he did?
Yeah, and I would see his name, not the name drop, but he's greatest there ever has been and ever will be. But I would see, this is when we were on the little house in Washington, and I would see his name on the caller ID, and I would just panic, and I would think about not answering the phone because I didn't want to disappoint him, and he was so delightfully judgy. And he would ask me, who do you like? Or he says, I'm an old man. What's going out in the world? And then who do you like in kids' books? And I would name a few people, and he'd say, wrong. And then I'd say, oh, I'm sorry. Did I mean to say that person? I mean, I hate his stuff,
Did I mean to have an opinion?
Yeah, I'm sorry. But he's still one of my favorites. I have my Sendak shelf, my Edward Gorey shelf, my Steig, my Provinsons. They're still my all-time favorite illustrators. I got my Bob Shea shelf. I got my Jory John shelf. Oh my goodness.
You did that to me 25 years ago with the phone call.
Oh,
I've told you that story. I was working at Comedy Central and I loved Stinky Cheese Man. And they were like, oh, we need an illustrator. And I just got the job at Comedy Central. And they were like, you could use whoever you want. Viacom, we got lots of money. I'm like, I'm calling Lane Smith. So I didn't even know how I got your number to call you. Who knows? This is before the internet. Like I didn't know where you were. And I called and left a message. You had some really fun answer machine message. And I was like, oh, I'll probably never hear from him. And like a couple days later, like I'm sitting on my desk and the phone rings and it says Lane Smith. And I was like, ah! And I picked up the phone.
And you
were like really nice. And you were like, oh, I can't do that. I don't have time. Or, thank you. But you were really gracious about it. It was nice.
I was like, how did you get this number?
Yeah, exactly. Make no further attempts to contact me.
Yeah, you mentioned that to me. I don't really remember that, but that was.
Yeah. Oh, it was like you wouldn't have remembered. It was like one thing, but you were nice to even get back to me. Lots of people didn't.
Of course, I knew one day you were going to be Bob Shea.
Right, exactly. This is going to work out.
Yeah. Well, do you want to read something, Bob? Since we're here.
No, I'm okay. I think we're ready for questions.
Okay. Yeah. Are those
Jackie's coming back on, so she's like, you guys got to wrap it up.
Are those real glasses, Bob, or is that just your Harold Lloyd fashion specs?
No, they're my reading glasses. So they're kind of real glasses, but you can get them at CVS.
Okay.
Good to know. Hello, that was
You don't need them
a great conversation. Thank you both.
Oh,
We'll now jump into the Q&A. So just a reminder for all of our attendees, feel free to submit any questions using the webinar's Q&A feature at the bottom of the screen. But to start off, I have to agree with Bob, the illustrations are beautiful. So I really loved them. Did you know what you wanted the characters and the scenery to look like when you were writing the book? Or did that kind of come to you when you finished writing the dialogue?
Sometimes you'll write a book and the story comes first, and sometimes the art comes first. I think this book, it was more of they came together. So I'm not even sure if the character was originally a rabbit, but then it's just if you have a spooky forest that's a little too scary, then you want a adorable, cute little bunny, so it's kind of like these scenes work together. And then And then you think, oh, that's a good image. And then you'll write a line. And yeah, so it's kind of back and forth. I'll bet Bob, though, I'll bet you write, probably write the whole thing before you. No, you kind of sketch, because I've seen your dummies too.
Yeah. I do. Like I'll do drawings and words to get like this. I'm working on a book. I'll do like, it's just what, like I'll write a sentence and then I'll throw a sketch in of what's going on. The
So
blur.
would you say that's really interesting. And I know, Lane, you had mentioned that you love rewriting, and it sounds like you ask each other for feedback, but you also ask other fellow authors for feedback. So how long does it take you on average to write a book? And would you say that your idea maybe at the beginning when you were writing it changes by the time you actually get to the final finished product?
In my case, all books are different. I have one I'm working on that I've been working on for 10 years. And it's not anything that you'll look at and think, oh, this looks like it took 10 years. It's not like a Stephen King. It's just, it just wants to move at that speed. And then something like this, the story for this, came very naturally and very quickly. So I guess they're all different.
Mm-hmm.
And for when I'm doing a funny book, and this is where Bob's great and comes in handy, it's more about honing the jokes so that they land. And Bob's 100 times better at that than I am. And but he's good at, I know that you're great at punching up, a word, one word will change the whole direction of the humor.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, they sit around for a while. I think it's hard to say. I get asked that a lot at school visits too, like how long does it take to write a book? It's not a straightforward process. Like Lane, I know you as well. You have like 2 or 3 projects working at different stages, and you'll work on one for a while. And Shea Bob was in a drawer for 7 years, I think, before I really was like, yeah, there's something here and I can develop it more. And at that time, at the final stage, it changed quite a bit. So it takes how long it takes, I think.
Or someday you might, you're just inspired by Nate, I don't know, anything, and you'll just rewrite the whole thing, because it is a picture book. It's not like a novel. It's
Yeah.
So you'll find yourself, you just tweaking every single page, and then you've got it.
Yeah, but like I said, my book Adorable with Pups and Trucks, 15 minutes. Send it off, because I wrote it in the email to my agent. Yep.
There you go.
Yeah, so they're different.
So this is a comment from one of our attendees. Lane, several years ago, my sister and I trespassed at your house in Woodbury. You were about to move out, but you were kind enough to show us around. It brought back many happy memories because it had been our grandparents' house. I knew then what a nice person you are. That's a nice comment to share.
I remember them, and I'm still looking for some of the silverware. No, I remember them. They were very nice. I've always had that fantasy of going back to my childhood home, which was in Corona, California. I think about it all the time. Some nights when I can't sleep, I'll just imagine walking from room to room and walking the street, and I remember where all the neighbors live. And that's, I guess, if I have anything on a bucket list, it's I want to go back to that house, but I've been afraid to.
Never go back.
Yeah. That's what Bob says. You can't go home again.
Yeah.
You should make
that up.
That in a book.
Nah, there's nothing there.
Yeah.
So just a few more questions before we wrap up. Where do you, and this is a question for both of you, where do you draw your inspiration from? I know, in the case of A Gift for Nana, this was based off of someone that you knew, but is that a lot of times the case, or do you find that you maybe see something that sparks inspiration?
Yeah, I think it goes either way. Sometimes it might be something visual that sparks something. Sometimes it's just with, I did a book called Grandpa Green, and it was more about, I wanted to do sort of a scrapbook of a whole life, but I didn't want to do a scrapbook because that's been done before. So then it occurred to me I could do it all in topiaries. So it was more, but then you know, I had to paint a few topiaries and see if it would work. And I liked the look of topiaries. So I think it was a visual thing. I just really wanted to do something with topiaries that would tell a life. And, but rarely are they as specific as they were with Nana. It's usually, yeah, it's just usually an idea or maybe even a joke.
Yeah.
Or punchline that can end the whole book, and then you build up to it.
Mm-hmm.
How about you, Bob?
Yeah, it's a lot of times it's joking around or noticing things, noticing the how things interact with one another, like how people interact, or how or awkward things from childhood is a big thing for me. But the thing is that seed or that germ of an idea, it changes so much over the process, you know. Even Nana, it's like it's such an epic tale of what happens, like these things that the rabbit does to didn't just ride its bike and go buy candy. All those things you added are so much bigger than that initial idea. Like the stories are developed, like there's always that spark or that thing that you may even by the end it's not even there, but you've built this world based on that.
Yeah,
It's mostly me joking around with my wife, and she says, "Why don't you go write that down? I'm busy." I think that's where it goes, what it's from.
well, it's funny because the Stickler book I'm working on now, it came out of every morning I walk the cat and the dog, and I talk to them, and I'll say things like, you know, Jojo, look at this tree, you know, look at this bark, it's amazing, and can you believe it? And you know, they never answer me, but I'm just constantly having this one-sided conversation, and you know, don't you just love everything? And it's kind of mentally, you know, if anyone heard me, they'd probably have me committed. But I started to write that down of the Stickler, just in love with the world and in love with everything, and you know, weird stuff, you know, textures and
But I love that book, and that's my point too. Like Lane developed that idea. He didn't say, I'm going to set out to write a book about a character who notices how wonderful the world is, and then ended up with some heavy-handed, hit you over the head with it, like, let's be mindful in the woods book. And it's the most gorgeous, subtle. I'm like, I am never going to try it. Like, I'm never going to try to write because I'm like, I couple times I tried to write a mindfulness book, and I'm like, here it is, exactly what you expect. And Lane's are like, this book is, it's great. I love the Stickler story. But that's the thing, they have to develop and evolve. You can't set out to be like, I'm going to do this thing, because then it loses its sort of organic nature, its authenticity.
I know you were joking a little bit about your wife, Colleen, saying, you know, go. But if you ever go with Bob anywhere, everything that comes out of his mouth that could be a book, or that could be a line in a book. He can't help
all I
himself.
have.
He's not obnoxious. He's hilarious.
And keeping myself entertained.
So you need to carry a notebook around with you everywhere.
I usually do.
He does.
The last question I have for both of you is, what is your favorite childhood book?
Well, it's easier for me to answer that because I'm old, and we really didn't have kids' books. We had Big Little books, and we had the Groliers Club Dr. Seuss books. I didn't discover Where the Wild Things Are until much later. I think I was in high school. So I remember my mom reading us the Boxcar Children, and that was about it. So I don't know. I have many favorite books now, like anything by the Provinsons or Swimmy or but I didn't have any as a kid, and that's just sad. How about you, Bob?
I did like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and I liked A Cricket in Times Square. I haven't read that in years, but I remember I read it a ton of times. Big fan of Encyclopedia Brown.
Oh yeah, we read those. Yeah.
Yeah, because they were short. Like there, you read a story, it was like short. I was like, look at that. Read
Well,
a chapter,
yeah.
like no
If
time.
you're talking about slightly older books like that, The Wonderful Flight to the Mushroom Planet by Eleanor Cameron and all the Mushroom Planet books. I remember getting those from the school library in about 4th grade. So yeah, those, I guess. What was your favorite?
Oh, so many. I loved
Better say one of Lane's.
yeah, I know.
Like,
My favorite is the newly released book, A Gift for Nana. But I loved all of like the Eric Carle books when I was a kid. I loved the illustrations. James and the Giant Peach was one of my favorites as well. And then also my favorite I actually have right here.
oh, let's see.
The Gumdrop Tree. I don't know.
Oh,
I have my blur on.
yeah,
But
blur
it's
up.
by Elizabeth Spur and illustrated by Julia Gorton. I actually, as a kid, used to take this book out every week from the library. And so my parents got me this book a few years ago for my birthday.
Those are good.
This one's my favorite.
Do you remember what it was that you liked so much about it? Like when you look at it now as a grown-up, you're like, I remember being immersed in this world and I remember what it was.
You know, I think that because the whole idea is that she gets like a little box of gumdrops, and then she does all these, she does all these fun things with them. Like she lines them up in a line, she makes pictures with them, and then she decides to plant them.
Mhm.
So I think the whole idea of it, and, then it grows into some leaves, and then it sprouts, and it shows the whole process of it growing into this beautiful tree. And I think the idea of, creating something yourself, I think I love just the idea of something starting out with a seed and then growing into something beautiful. I think that's probably why I loved it. And then at the end, she got to eat all the candy. So.
Oh, okay. It's got the whole range of emotions in there.
Yeah, right. So looking back now, I'm sure that I loved, I always loved to cook. My mom used to let me cook with her and things like that. So kind of creating something. But
that's what kids
I just
do.
like the way it looked.
I think I'll get emails from people on my website. And yeah, it's things they remember from their childhood, and they associate all, the time they had and the family and probably the smells and what their mom was cooking. And it's just a part of our childhood, I guess. That's kids' books do that better than anything, probably.
Yeah, I agree. Well, thank you both for joining us. This is a great conversation. Thank you, Lane. Thank you, Bob. Thank you to everyone who tuned in from home. Please consider purchasing your copy of A Gift for Nana by Lane Smith, or I Am a Baby, which is coming out in June by Bob Shea, from RJ Julia, Wesleyan RJ Julia, or Bookhampton. The links can be found in the chat. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your night.